Well, as you're about to see, this video may be a little repetition of the last chapter as far as how the things about the steps we went over with carving Mary and Joseph went on the last one. But I did come on here and decide that I'd just do a video where I did a little bit of carving the same step on the other two as well. And that is just simply because I just had a lot to share, had some new stories to tell, wanted to talk to you all while I was doing it. So we don't know what step in the book we're going to go to next, but while I'm repeating this first step, I'll just get on here just to tell you all little stories as to how things have been. I must mention that as of yesterday, there were things that was kind of hard to get on here and do because, things were kind of going on at my work. Sometimes it happens, and I was up way extra early yesterday morning, had to sleep in the afternoon, and kind of went to Starbucks in the evening after waking up at night just to kind of get a little bit of my relaxation. I've been out at the Dollar Tree buying stuff from which to make signs. I spent some time today cutting up a couple more pairs of jeans, and it was probably just about maybe having some more pockets from which to make more emoji pillows. And I've been sharing the finished pillows with my friends in messages, but hadn't posted them to my page just yet. There's been so much work coming along, been making some turkeys out of denim and felt, giving some of them red heads and some of them black heads, trying to get enough of them done and out in time for Thanksgiving. So I'd say there's been some work to do as far as coming along on this stuff goes, and just wanted to say that it's been quite a week. There was some news that took place about a couple weeks ago, but it just so happened that considering who the person was that passed, I didn't hear about it until yesterday. So, I didn't make any plans, but my family has just kind of gone out for a special memorial they've had for this person. What they've done is they've cremated him, and they're kind of asking people to send the money to his grandmother to cover the cost of the cremation. So that's kind of just the way as far as how that's gone. I need to mention that I've been online to kind of look for some ways to make new signs. I've been out shopping at Dollar Tree for things with which to post stuff up to my personal table for crafts and how the work comes along. And because I tell you, there's just all these paper signs I have, they just get blown away too easily with the wind when I'm doing shows outdoors. So I try to kind of make some better things that will kind of really stand up a whole lot better, make better sense, and be easier for people to see, easier for people to read. So that's just how that goes. And there's been a lot to share in places. I'd say, like little conversations I've been having in Starbucks with the people there in the evenings. There's been certain people I've been trying to kind of make things up to, because there's been certain friends I've been having to avoid for a few months, because sometimes the trouble is that I just get too easily protective of them sometimes, and when certain things happen, and sometimes I just kind of have to give them their spaces so that I can have a little better control of myself. Been watching a few episodes on Roku on my laptop of the Murder House Flip show because Sarah Listy from Tool Girl's Garage has been on there. She's been kind of among the ones who's just been working on these houses where all these criminal acts took place, and so she's had to kind of redo them for the people who lived in them, because the people who moved into those houses kind of wanted it to be in better shape and not to look like the little place where the little traumas and incidents took place. So we're just working along on this, trying to find out things. I tell you, and there gets to be times when, you know, sometimes I get a little bit too carried away. Sometimes I get frustrated to a certain point with my work, and sometimes I message my friends about it and kind of tell them things about it, and sometimes I'd say it might just be a lot to share or a lot to say, but so much we just kind of have to be a little cautious about. Sometimes there's also times I think that there's a lot I could be putting in jeopardy by kind of, you know, venting about things the way I do. But, you know, anybody who's ever been disabled and ever worked a job says they know the feeling of what it's like to, you know, not have your disability taken into consideration, what it's like to kind of take a lot of reprimandation in life just because, you know, your disability just affects you in whatever way it does. And yes, there will be the moments in my life when, in my very case, it can result in a little nagging here and there. I take some nagging sometimes, and it's just the kind of thing that happens in life. So there's going to be a little more to share as a little more time goes on. But there's a lot to say in a moment like this when you kind of got a lot of work in your hands and all the time you're doing good little things just to try to help people out in the best ways you can. There have been times in my life when things have gone strange, things have gone weird. I know that there are certain angels that come to me at times and they accompany me in my worst. You know, people kind of are still young, they have their young ways, and they kind of think on terms of things that not all of us would. I like to share the stories about how it comes along with people in life and all the blessings people can be. There's days I get my fears that sometimes, for all the things I'd be going out and saying, I could be causing jeopardy in places and stuff. And so there's a lot to expect in life, a lot to know in life, and I say that there's a lot to be careful about in life. Might kind of try to give this little knife a rest. Maybe pick out another one I've got here. Indeed, there come times when, as I've been taught, you have to sharpen these knives at a certain point. For being the wood carver is kind of the trick of the being. The wood carver works and kind of make things just as happy as can be. Sometimes we put our work to the side. Sometimes we do our best. There are moments when we kind of need to look out and see what we're doing. That's how I'm coming along on this. There's been so much to share in life. As you can see, I've gotten a little bit work extra on here. And I'll tell y'all, I'm wearing shorts today, so this is a time when I've kind of got to be a little bit extra careful what I do. So that way I don't end up getting a cut on my leg from the knife. There's a lot to figure out, you know. It's getting to the point where I've been carving so many years, I can kind of manage this well, manage it better than before. So, it's been 14 years now, and when I first started going to Woodcarvers Guild, I saw the other guys in there carving and tried to carve as fast as them, and I was just learning, so I wasn't very experienced at it, couldn't do much, and you know, did have Calvin Grant once say to me, you see all these guys in here, they look like they're carving fast. Well, they've been carving for 10 or 15 years and they know what they're doing. I say this is a time when there's been a lot to go on and a lot to say because of the pandemic. There's been world events going on in Russia and Ukraine. There's been so much to be said in places. We know a lot of stuff's going on right now in politics, and I'm in the United States, and there are just certain politicians whose names I just try my best not to say because, you know, that just gets to be such a personal subject to people, and all the ways you just kind of have to control what you do, control what you say, and sometimes there can be little things that can go on and give me a little trouble in this world with what I'm thinking and what I'm saying, but it's all just one of those things where I sort of see the articles show up on my email homepage and try my best not to pay too much attention to them. There might be a lot of stuff to them that we don't need to see, don't need to know or read or hear, but all we do is use our best caution about things. Some things it's just best for me not to read at all, or I might get a little too upset. One thing I like to watch is those Dar Man motivational videos. He comes up with a new one every night of the week, and on YouTube and Facebook and all the places he posts about it, and there's just always different stories from which we learn all these different lessons, and they all got things to teach us in them about people and situations and helping us understand the reality of things. Because sometimes, just sometimes, there's things of life that I learned to understand much better from seeing those videos, and I'd say I've been one of those men who, in my lifetime, hasn't always understood women the best way I could. So it was kind of a little hard thing for me. I've never been able to make enough money to impress any, and I'd say, I've always been happy to be single until I find the right person. because I sure haven't found her yet, but I say it's just among those things where, it's always been my reality to accept. Sometimes people wouldn't let me accept it, though. Sometimes people judged me for it. I could tell you stories about things that were always said to me in my younger years. Feel like I'm an older person now, and to the point where people can leave me alone even if I'm choosing to be single till I find the right person. But I say, for one thing, it's kind of getting to be among those things where, whoa, I couldn't stress to you everything that was said to me in my younger years for it, because that's kind of sometimes what people do is they kind of judge you for your situations. And I know there was just a lot of stuff about it I used to write in my Aspie tracks when I was still writing those. I don't really write those anymore. I don't distribute them anymore. Some people might still have copies of them here and there. Some people might have copies that they kept, copies that they saved. Some people probably threw theirs away, but I will say that these are just the kinds of things that don't become available everywhere. There's never been much demand for those articles, so never really had to make a lot of them, or I made plenty of them to distribute over the years, but it really didn't remain helpful because in some places where I tried to share it, it was always something that fell under the lines of soliciting. Most people just seem to have a solid definition of what soliciting is as far as trying to sell something in a business. But what I come to say is that I've learned soliciting can be anything that causes customers to leave a place. It can be anything that causes enough employees to quit. Because if you don't keep your customers and you don't keep your employees, then you can't keep business going. So it's like if you're just distributing or passing out any literature in a place, it can just be the kind of thing where of all that it becomes, it's just one of those things where people start thinking you're just there to do it. So it becomes of those things where you look out for yourself and look out for other people, because anything I find out, anything that you can do that doesn't help somebody keep a business, I find can fall under the lines of soliciting. And they can take it away from you. They can ask you to leave. If you're passing anything out, they can tell you to go put it in your car and tell you to leave it in your car when you come back in. Sometimes they might even ban you for it. They might ask you to leave and ask you not to come back. Probably had that happen to me a few times in my life. Places where I've been was probably out there just trying to do a little hero work, trying to help a world understand Asperger's syndrome and autism and things like that. But, it just wasn't what people were there to hear, They were just there to have their best of times. And what I find out in life is no matter how much I advocate, no matter how much I try to be an ambassador for anything, I just know there's certain things in life that are not going to work, not be appropriate. There's always going to be people who won't care about your life, won't care what you go through, won't care what you deal with. And that's why I say that it all comes down under those very lines there. The work that comes and the work that goes. I've got to kind of work on this last little part of this head here, and then I'll be ready to take a little break here and be ready to try to upload this video as soon as it comes time for it to go up. But I say this kind of work, you know, it sometimes causes big chips to fly everywhere. And this is butternut wood. It's a type of wood where when you get all these chips from it, I don't suggest you use it for mulch. Because I've heard it said that you use poisonous woods like walnut and butternut scraps as mulch. It's the kind of thing that can kill your plants. Of course, it's getting to be fall time right now in the United States and getting to the point where gardening season is over with. So everybody's getting ready to harvest right now. That's why fall is called the harvest season. And it makes us also think about that verse in Scripture where it says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we don't lose heart." And sometimes I've always thought of those verses as having a lot of meaning, having a lot to say. For in our lives we know that the ground that we live in shall be fruitful of all things. I think it's getting to the point where all of my knives are doling out, probably to the point where it might be time to give this little video a break. And I'm going to eventually finish carving this part of the head, but believe I've probably gotten a little bit too far into the video. Probably taken it too long already, gotten too far into the minutes. But I just know when I come on here, I not only like to share with you about wood carving, but I like to share with you about wisdom. That's how it is when you get to be my age. Sometimes the youth want to listen to you because you kind of get to where you're old and you know a lot about the good old days and have just so much to share with them, have so much to tell them that make them wise. As you know, a lot of the youth, they don't really like to listen to their parents. They don't really like to take the advice of their parents who try to help them. But, it kind of comes to a point where when somebody else who's had a certain experience in life tells them the right thing, that might be the person who they will listen to, the one who they will learn it from. Finally gotten down back to this first knife here, but probably getting to where I need to sharpen them. And I even saw a place on Amazon where I could order a bulk of knives, so I'd say I might need to order a whole nother bulk of these good ones here so that I can have many more of them to sharpen and many more of them to keep sharp at a time. Sometimes it can be a lot of work to sharpen knives, and guess you could probably say my stones and like strops that I shine them and sharpen them on, probably getting pretty old themselves, probably need their own replacements. So it's coming a time where, as I work along on this, sometimes I say the old man's got to stop and give it a break. So I'd say it's going to be time for me to end this video here, and I'll see you next time.